Hello, everyone. It's Mike Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So, Kerry Cassidy, hopefully join us in a little bit. I'll go and get it started. David Wilcock, unfortunately, passed away or was assassinated or was, removed so he could go into, the secret program where people go to stay alive, right? So there's all these different options. A lot of people have been talking about each one of them. I will say that I kind of lean towards, they removed him for his own safety. But did he commit suicide? There's lots of different things. I just had an expert on brain health that did a show with Tarina Piccirillo, and we talked about a lot of different things. That's a possibility. Mold. I was like blown away by how mold can actually come in and cause you to commit suicide. It's like, wow. Because it basically, goes into the brain and causes problems. So, and then of course, he had depression, but depression, who doesn't have depression in their lives, at one point or on a daily basis at this point? So you just learn how to deal with it. And I think David dealt with it pretty well from what I could see. Health issues, could be a problem. Supplementation and problems. These can all lead to potential suicide. So head trauma, a lot of people have had head trauma. Myself, I got on supplementation. Basically, it's helped my head trauma, PTSD that I had. So there's different ways, that overcome this. Football players, we're getting committing suicide on a massive level from head trauma. Military, a lot of blasting and so forth. I don't think David was exposed to that, but you never know. Maybe he had trauma at some point. But these are all, things that we don't know. His family said that he was, depressed. But again, depression in and of itself doesn't cause you to commit suicide. And he said that he didn't believe in suicide. But, if you're MK Ultra or have some of these other issues that I'm talking about, that could lead to suicide. What you believe in doesn't matter anymore because you're pretty much possessed or something. So you're going to commit suicide. So Kerry had some really good points. I was looking at her website. I'll pull up her website and we can look at some of those. Again, hopefully she'll pop in. And so on her website, she has some great stuff, and she's been in chats and so forth. Project CAMELOT. So projectcamelotportal.com basically has a lot of her information. She just did about that latest shooter. She's got a lot of stuff in here. Not suicidal. Let's look at this one. So David, Kerry's really known David for a long time. She doesn't believe that he committed suicide. And, she's talked about this quite a bit. There's another one over here about the latest shooter. So she's saying you need to be paying attention because there's lots of people that basically have been suiciding and have been pulled off, probably by the white hats because they were under threat. So there's probably a little bit of both going on, I believe. People, I don't think probably most of these people are suicidal. I think they're being taken out by the deep state because they've been doing this for not just over the last, several weeks or months or years, but for decades and decades. They've been taking out people that were, linked to high technologies and so forth. They being the deep state want to control these technologies so that they have them for themselves. If we get exposed to them, then we're going to basically break free from their control system. And that's why I believe a lot of these people have been, suicided or, had mysterious deaths or disappeared or so forth. Maybe they disappear some of these people and put them in their programs, their underground programs. And then the good guys know that some people are being targeted and they pull them so that they won't get taken out or pulled out of the system so that they can, continue their work in a safe environment. So I think it's happening on both levels. Where does David fit in that? Which one was it? It's hard to say. But when you look at all the things that are out there, not suicidal, missing dead scientists and David Wilcock, you can say that, hey, maybe some of these things, maybe some of them are actually happening, and maybe some of them are not. So it's hard to say. All right. So Kerry has been on the cutting edge of this for a very long time. I believe she's a subject matter expert. She knows more about this stuff than I think anyone out there. She's had some really, really good interviews. If you haven't seen, let me see if I can pull that back up. If you haven't seen her, she just re-released John Lear. So she did like 3 interviews with John Lear, and those are, I remember seeing like one of them, but I hadn't seen the other 2. So just recently I watched them because she re-released them. And I was like stunned with what he was revealing, because it's basically, this was back in, I don't know, 2016 when they were talking, 2017 looks like where they're talking about here. She re-released it just recently, April 16th. And everybody's got to go watch this. Right? It is unbelievable. He was talking about stuff back then that is now coming true. So that's the great thing about Kerry's work. She's been revealing this information for decades now, and that's why I think that she is on the cutting edge. She's had incredible guests that have brought forth a lot of this information that now we're seeing is coming true. It's coming out in the open, a lot of the stuff. Now, President Trump is going to reveal in July. And in one of Kerry's, I remember reading in one of Kerry's, articles where she said that President Trump is the 47th president. In 1947 is when they had that one crash where they had the aliens and so forth. And Trump is going, and it was July, I think June or July, and President Trump is supposedly going to release in July. So here we have the 47th president going to release in Roswell, that one crash where in 1947, they said, first they came out and disclosed that we have an alien crash. And then that got hushed up. And then it came out and said, oh, it was a weather balloon. Sorry about that. It was no aliens here. And then Bob Lazar comes and works in, Area 51, not actually in Area 51, but in that general vicinity in another secretive area. And he's working on some of these craft that they found that the aliens or little grays had worked on. So for me, I have, the secret space program stuff, and that's one of the things that they're trying to suppress. So I have memories of the secret space program. I've talked about it quite extensively. I've been on Gaia. I've talked about it. I was actually regressed by the top person that does regressions of secret space program people on live, and you can go to Gaia and see that. And I revealed so much incredible information. She was like, I have never regressed anybody that gave up so much information. You were like a gold mine. I was like, wow, that's cool. But, for my memories of that, as they're awakening, because they suppress those memories as you age, the repression type stuff that they put on our memories starts to wear off. You start to have little bleed throughs of memories. You see other people revealing, and that activates some of your memories. So I've seen a lot of this stuff, and I've revealed some of my own memories of the secret space program. We're very, very advanced in secret space program. Now, my thoughts are that is not going to be, the secret space program people are not going to get involved with us if ever, maybe at some point in the future, long term in the future. But I think the technologies that secret space program groups have developed will start to bleed down to us, all right? And I think that's been going on for quite some time. But 100 years advanced. And with some of these, extraterrestrials, it's even more advanced. Hundreds, 1,000 years or more, more advanced than what we have now. The thing that's keeping us from actually benefiting from these technologies and actually traveling in the solar system and the further galaxy that we're in and other galaxies is because of this evil reptilian race that's basically taken over Earth. Now we're in the process of collapsing this evil extraterrestrial group. And at some point, I think we're going to completely collapse their control system. The Nazis were heavily involved with the Draco reptilians. That's still, to a great extent, very much active here on Earth, guys. They still have a lot of control, but that control is collapsing. And one of the main things that collapses that is guys like me, that memories are starting to come back and we're revealing. And then those people like Bob Lazar, of course, he's not revealing everything. He would be dead many times over if he tried to reveal some of the stuff that he knows. And for one instance, if you listen to the John Lear interview, he talks about Bob Lazar, and he's like, Bob Lazar, he's not revealing everything. He told me, now if you see this, there's a new show that Bob Lazar did where he says, I was going by this long hallway and I looked in a window and I saw what looked like an alien. But, now that I think about it, it's probably just a mock-up, a dummy or something like that. Well, he told John Lear he saw an alien, right? So some of these things you can't reveal, guys. Now I have memories of working with the little grays that started to bleed through, and I work with a lot of different programs, time travel. I've worked in programs, throughout the solar system and throughout the galaxy where we travel, and kind of like Star Trek type stuff, kind of like Star Wars type stuff. That's all part of Reveal, all those movies and so forth. Not completely, but there is reveal that's happening in those. And that's to prepare the consciousness for at some point where these things are going to be revealed. So President Trump is going to start that process in July. And so are some of these people that are starting to be taken out or dying mysteriously, is David Wilcock one of those people? Potentially, right? I think that I think it's a very strong possibility that he's still alive, that he was basically playing us, that he was going crazy, but maybe he really was. Now I've done some of this stuff myself. I've been involved in when I worked in the CIA and in the military. You had a cover story, and you worked a cover story where you were presenting yourself as something that you were not. All right, and this is to protect you and protect your team and protect the information that that you have, and to protect the information that's being gathered from other groups and so forth. So these things are throughout all of society, right? The dark side, has their agenda, their cover stories, and their untruths, and the stuff they do. And then, of course, the guys on the good side, if you will, have their own information and so forth that they're covering. Now, I believe that this recent shooting that happened with the correspondence dinner, that was planned. Now I've seen as a remote viewer that was planned and Trump was part of the planning process. All right. When I remote view that, and this was many months ago, they planned this, and other people were involved in that. So Pete Hegseth and probably some other people, because I see a room full of people that were planning this event. Now, if you look at, like I did a show yesterday where I talked about this as a possibility that it happened, you start to see some of this. Now there's other people that have remote viewed this. Elizabeth April remote viewed it. She's doing a really good job in her remote viewing. Some of the remote viewing, well, I won't say some, I would say most of the remote viewing that I do, guys, I see there's a lot of manipulation. So that when you're looking at something as a remote viewer, it's a facade as well. It's another movie that someone's projecting so that when remote viewers come in and look at it, they get a false reading. So I haven't revealed this until now, but I've been looking at a lot of this stuff for a long time, even in the remote viewing community. And I see some people revealing stuff, and I'm like, you saw the false narrative stuff. Some of the stuff that I see that some people are revealing, it's like, okay, you saw the good stuff. So I used to like really come out and talk about my remote viewing. I said, I remote view this and I see this. I don't do that so much anymore because I see that most of the stuff that's out there, even in that realm, is false. It's another false narrative, guys. So when you see people that are, revealing stuff, and it's like, I saw it in remote viewing, it's like, don't jump on that, right? Don't jump on that, right? So you're going to see a lot of that going forward. There's, people that are expert. I can project myself. And you've heard me talk about this. I can project energies, frequencies, where I can cause a certain effect. I can cause things to happen. You guys heard me talk about how I projected, frequency, love frequency at Hillary Clinton, and then she's like stumbling around at the 9/11 memorial, and then she's gone. They take her away, and then we see a fake Hillary after that. She's like her clone's like, coming out, and they're giving her coffee, and she's testing this coffee, and her clone wasn't clued up about this particular coffee and taste or whatever. She freaks, her clone just malfunctions because she wasn't programmed for that. And you see where she comes into the Democrat National Convention with Bill, and Bill's got her holding her, and she sees they do like these lights and fireworks like within the building, and she's like, freaking out again because her clone wasn't programmed for that. And when it sees it, it malfunctions. It's like for us, we see something that's not normal, that we've never seen anything like that before. We kind of freak out a little bit too, right? So clones are the same way. So you're seeing a lot of these technologies that are coming out. You're seeing the evil side that's really presenting itself on a massive scale. You're seeing a lot of the, I'm not going to call them elite, right? So you're seeing a lot of people at the certain levels that used to be, the people we looked up to, Hollywood people, and people in the music industry, people in, political realms and so forth. They're getting very lean, aren't they? They're doing a lot of Ozempic, right? And that's part of the witchcraft and the warlock stuff that's going on right now. So you're seeing the Luciferian side, which the reptilians or their culture is tied into the Luciferian agenda and so forth. So you're seeing a lot of that. A lot of that is really coming forward. You're seeing a lot of people that are, Ozempicing, not your average person, but you're seeing people that want to emulate that stuff. Now, reptilian. Now, Ozempic is Gia monster poison, right? Gia monster lizard poison, right? So you're seeing, this reptilian side that's basically infiltrating and causing a lot of mayhem and mischief within society. That's been going on for a long time. We saw the same thing. Dr. Artist revealed how they had snake venom in the the COVID thingy that went in your arm. All right. So there's all of this stuff that's been going on for thousands of years with the reptilians coming in and basically capturing a lot of humanity. And then there's those of us that are basically not captured and are helping others to wake up and revealing a massive amount of information. And Kerry Cassidy is one of those, but I don't know what happened through her coming in the show. Maybe she got tied up or her link didn't work. I don't know. You never know about these things. You got the time wrong. Who knows? But we're all revealing in the best way that we can. Going forward, we'll see a lot of reveals. I believe massive numbers of reveals that are coming. They're happening as we're moving forward. Like the shooter that was at the Correspondence Dinner, running down the hall. I gave my professional opinion about that, having been a shooter, having been, in the SEAL teams at highest levels, having been a security detail lead, training people and leading people in security details at the highest levels of government around the world. And the stuff we saw at the Correspondence Dinner is complete BS, right? And that was planned, I believe. So we're seeing the press, and you're seeing the media. The media is attacking Trump after that. Okay, I just threw you guys a Correspondence Dinner, and now you're attacking me. So this was all planned, and more and more exposure. And we're seeing Hakeem Jeffries is basically saying that it's full speed ahead on attacking Donald Trump. My words, not his, but along those same words, pretty much. So I sent it to you.
You did not send it. You didn't push send.
All right. So let me. I'm hearing that I didn't send the link, but anyway, unfortunately, that got messed up. So I'm just going to call it here, and we'll just figure it out. Do another show a later time. All right, guys. Is it true that the CIA took over 70 countries while the American people went to the Roman Stadium and watched baseball, football, and soccer? Sure. Yeah. Of course, the CIA is very much involved in all this stuff. So yeah, having worked in the CIA, there's a good side, and then there's the unfortunately the evil side, and we're not getting good response from them. And as we go forward, that's the way it's going to be. All right. So yeah, I see that link. I sent it to you. All right, guys. Lots of love. Stay in the love vibration. I got another show coming up, so I got to prepare for that one. And unfortunately, we didn't have Kerry. I guess the link wasn't sent to her.
She's ready right now.
All right, so I'm hearing that she's ready right now. So the link wasn't sent to her. I sent it to my wife, and she didn't see it.
I forgot, everyone.
All right.
I apologize. I'm sending it right now.
All right, so
keep talking.
Well, I'll keep talking. All right, but let's do this. All right. So you guys are still waiting. Good. There's a lot of you here, so we'll do this. Let's go. All right. So Cheech and Chong was a psychological operation. They're still charging the people they busted from marijuana through the straw man. It's a very good point. Yeah. So some people are being released, but still there are people sitting in prison that were, charged with marijuana crimes, and that's all bullshit. And we're finding that out. Marijuana was not. It's way down the consciousness level. I mean, alcohol is more addictive and more, problem causing than marijuana. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're learning. So a great point about Cheech and Chong, getting people to go use drugs when they made it illegal. And I remember they came out with some crazy movies where, people use marijuana and they like freaked out, and it's like that. Like no one, right? But they did a movie on that, and they used that kind of stuff to basically control consciousness and throw people in prison, and all the things that we're going to learn about, going forward, is just unbelievable. All right, so Reefer Madness. That's it. That was that crazy movie that they put out there to try and convince the public that reefer made you crazy. All right. And then they should be arresting people that use reefer because they're going to go crazy and kill us and stuff, So really, really tragic times. Now, marijuana is being used for PTSD. It's helping a lot of people. It's absolutely propaganda, Kim in Wisconsin. So yeah, we've seen a lot of these programs before. Was David Wilcock one of those? We'll ask Kerry when she comes in. So let's learn about the fraudulent court system. It's fraudulent. So nothing to learn there. Just it's non-viable. It's a system that's completely corrupt, and you have the British accredited registry. The lawyers have to be bar, and that's complete bullshit. So a corrupt system. The War of 1812. Basically, they were coming out with documentation, which was going to take away the bar, and that's one of the reasons. Many reasons, of course, for these wars. But the British came in and basically burned the Capitol. They burned the Library of Congress and so forth. They had all those documents. All right, that was basically going to make an outlaw offense to basically be part of the British Empire. Still, British accredited registry was going to be a treasonous crime. So all those people that are bar right now, if you go back in time, where they were basically bringing that out as a treasonous crime because you're working for a foreign government here in the United States, then you would be treasonous. So I guess they'll give them a grace period. You can get rid of that bar, or you can go bye-bye in a firing squad. So, so many things that we're going to find going in the future. Here's Kerry. Kerry, thanks for coming in. Rebel Gene.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you perfect. And so I was talking a little bit about,
Thank you.
David Wilcock and all the problems that you presented. I agree with you on a lot of that stuff. There's different ideas out there. He was assassinated. He did commit suicide. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, I sort of have a list that it's a post on my Substack, but I think it might be helpful. So I sent it over last night, but you might not have gotten it. So
I got it right here. I was waiting for you to come in, and I will bring that up right now. We can go through this.
Because I thought,
fantastic.
just it kind of simplifies things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I went through that. I'm like, of course, yeah. And when you see the list, you're like, oh, hello, like you say in there. I like the way you do that. So, hello.
Okay, well, so I'm just saying, I'll just go down the litany, and then I thought we could stop at each point if you wanted to say something, about it,
great.
or ask a question or something. So actually, you have to go back to the top because I can't. I'm reading off your screen. So, okay, thank you. That's good. It's a real or fake timeline. And the bottom line is just, I think everyone knows, but I don't believe he killed himself. And I've got a lot of support out there in spite of the Jean-Claude debacle, as far as I'm concerned, of a show.
Right.
And, obviously they were sort of unprepared in a certain way, right? It kind of came out of nowhere. Obviously, and no one was ready for it. But so what I'm saying here is, first of all, and this is not in exact order, okay, because we don't actually know the exact order of all this. So David invests over $1 million in a free energy aerospace propulsion startup called Stavati. Stavati gets slammed with a bunch of lawsuits, and that even happened, I think, before David invested, but I don't know the exact timing there. Stavati also gets an infusion of funds. I saw a post online about that. David is named director of new technology for Stavati. He makes videos playing his crazy father. All of a sudden, he starts telling people he's depressed and broke. I want people to understand that I knew David very well.
Yeah.
But I parted ways with him when a certain person, I'm going to ask that we don't use that person's name because they like to sue people. And
Right.
God knows, with what basis. But anyway, so I just assume if you want to call the person C, I think we can get away with that.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
this
Very
person
good.
that he got associated with called C attacked me and my channel. And he wrote a letter to YouTube, and I'm not going to go into all that. But basically, I had to take his name off of a video and then repost the video without his name. But it was actually a compliment, which is insane. But this is the kind of thing that goes on. So, this is the situation with the way I think David is thinking. I think this is a setup. I think David, either he did it on his own or he got a lot of help and coaching, and he basically staged every step of the way. And as we get past this, to the bottom of this, you're going to understand why would he do that. Okay. Aside from that, scientists were dying who were into the free energy and doing the propulsion thing.
Right.
Literally being announced in the news daily, and he was getting more scared, and he said that he was scared. He thought it was scary.
Right.
And
You
so
remember that
then
time, it was several years ago, where he came out, he was almost in tears, saying that, he had been told.
that was on my show, actually.
It was on your show. Wow.
Yeah.
That he was going to be killed. Yeah.
And he was crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was many years ago. I mean,
Many.
really. Yeah, like many, like
But
7.
he's a sensitive guy, so
He's a emotional person. There's nothing wrong with that. As far as I know, that's not against the law.
He's a beautiful soul, absolutely. Or is, we'll say, or is. So
Yes. Getting back to this thing, which I don't want to lose my place here.
So he's telling people he's depressed and broke.
Yeah, and which doesn't make sense. When I knew him, he was driving a BMW. He had plenty of money. He was renting a very expensive house on the top of the hills in Hollywood area.
Mm-hmm.
And then, given this was all, I was looking back through I post a lot of video links at the bottom of this post, but it goes back to 2007 that we were involved with David. And I actually wanted people to know that when I first came across David, and asked him for an interview, we had kind of hit the scene rather recently. So 2007 was very early on. We hit the scene, I think, 2005. So we hadn't been around that long at that point. But I had followed David's work and I was impressed with him. So I wanted to interview him. So we did. We offered him the interview, and he was telling us that he was sick of everything. He was, for some reason, getting fed up with the way the public was receiving him or his data. And so we could basically interviewed him. The interview was a smash hit. He got all excited and rejuvenated, so to speak. He decided he liked our model that we were interviewing people, because up to then he wasn't interviewing people. So he decided to copy us, which is, I guess, the ultimate compliment. And so that's the background, just so you understand. And I used to go to dinner one-on-one with David. We would shoot, basically, shoot the shit, so to speak. It's a frame of way of saying things, but just to compare notes, because we were in the same business. We were both interviewing whistleblowers, and we were the original ones. Project CAMELOT was really in video. We were the original ones. So then David came along and started doing it too, so that we would compare notes from our whistleblowers and various things. So I got to know him quite well, and always loved him as a friend. And but when a C came along, which someone said it was 2015, I thought it was a lot earlier than that. But the C started posting on the Avalon forum for actually several years before he got involved with J. I'm not using their whole names, because I don't want to get sued for some other stupid thing. So basically, so here we go. He's named him Director of New Technology for Savati. Understand, I believe he invested something close to $1 million. In fact, I just read something else that said he was also invested or committing to helping buy them some kind of hanger thing. And then he started telling people he was depressed and broke. This is actually, though, I'm going to scroll down here quickly because you might not have seen this because I just added it later. This is actually David interviewing Stavati. I mean, the Stavati founder, Craig, and his name is Chris Beskar. And that was 1 year ago, according to this. Okay, it was posted and it doesn't have that many views, but it says 1 year ago. So he was fine then. I'm just saying, just for the record, this was not apparently in the show that was we talked about. Apparently, they were saying that he had been supposedly depressed and acting crazy since God knows when. But that is not my experience with him. And in fact, I don't think that's because he was married. He got married sometime around, I think it was, I don't have the dates, but maybe around 2020, around, or even earlier than that, but not much because he was then divorced for several years by the time today came along. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So just the timeline is pretty screwed up in general. So I hope this is making sense to people, but I think that's part of the problem, if you don't mind my saying so. So that's what we want to figure out is what's the real timeline. And that still hasn't been done. Okay. Now I've lost my place. So I can't, let me see if I can get this bigger. Okay. So then can you scroll back down to the top a little bit? Okay. So what happens is, think of it this way. If Stavati was in trouble and he invested heavily in it, okay, they would be looking at each other, getting all sorts of lawsuits, and any free energy company, and this has been true for eons. First of all, they usually kill the principals.
Right.
They kill the inventors, and Brian O'Leary was one such person. He was a Mars astronaut. They tried to wipe his record. They tried to kill him. He was interviewing free energy technologists around the world and putting them in books. And then they gave an attempt on his life in America. He left America. He went down to Vilcabamba. He established himself down there. But he did report on our True TV pilot show that he was threatened, and he believed he knew who the shooter was, or the killer. But some reason the guy didn't complete the job, and so Brian and his wife went down to Vilcabamba, sort of hiding out and getting away from Americans. I actually know who the hitman was. Wow. But anyway, so he was scared for his life, Brian O'Leary, but he had written these books about free energy activists as well. He was slated to go to Mars as an astronaut. Then they tanked that whole program. And
remember Laura Eisenhower, she talked about that too. They were basically getting her ready to go to Mars, and she didn't want any part of that. So
right.
That was part of the program. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Well, I'm not sure her program was the exact same one as Brian O'Leary. She would know maybe, but I don't know that. But anyway, so what happens is, I just want people to know there's a history here of what happens to companies and individuals who ever start getting involved in the free energy propulsion systems, etc. And this is a huge story, and I could go on for hours, but I won't. Okay. So then what happens is these two guys have to look at each other and go, we got to go black. They're going to kill us. Even before the dead scientists and missing scientists started being reported in the press, which has only been going on for about a month, I think. And those people, by the way, are also sporadically through about a period of 3 to 4 years. Not back to back, even though the press and whoever was feeding that information to the press was making it appear that way. Okay. Yeah. It appeared to anyone that suddenly we've got a whole slew of killings or missing scientists. That's
Yeah.
not exactly how it was.
Yeah, you made a good
And I've
point that this has
done,
been going on for decades. Yeah.
yeah, but I've done 3 or 4 videos now
Mm,
about David Wilcock and about the missing scientists. So
right.
there's lots of information that I put out all about that story if you want more.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So, and then he starts telling people, acting like his crazy father, doing a good job. People loved it. But the
Yeah.
thing is, he starts telling people he's depressed and broke. How could he be broke when you had $1 million? Wouldn't you leave enough to live on? It doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
David starts parting his hair in the middle and making him look sort of unbalanced. And then supposedly out of the blue, he calls the police on himself saying he's experiencing a mental health crisis. I have a psychic friend who's not who I was on the show with. They got that wrong. A psychic friend who is completely secret, who says that when she looked at the situation, that was not David on the phone. Okay, just saying. So the police show up and we got different stories. All right. So someone says that there was a test shot that he shot. Okay. So he did a test shot with the gun, supposedly, and then he shoots himself in the head. One report even says they found him after the fact on his couch. Everyone assumes he kills himself, but it takes law enforcement more than 48 hours, even though they were at his home from the minute he supposedly shot himself, to identify him, which is very questionable. I'm just trying to draw your attention to how many bizarre things are going on here.
Yeah, and
Then,
what I've learned over time is that when there's so many inconsistencies like that on purpose, it's because they're trying to cloud the whole situation and wear people out. So people are like, oh, just screw it. There's so much disinformation going on. I don't care anymore. So that's one of the things that do. So that's a big red flag to me.
All right. So, so what happens is it takes them 48 hours to identify him, which I think is very questionable. And then suddenly there's a goodbye letter that emerges. And then the family they stated this on like day 2, that there was no foul play. Now they are on the East Coast. How the fuck would they know that there was foul play or not foul play unless law enforcement told them to say that and they're afraid for their lives, something like that. So we said the family, so case closed. And then Jay, who was actually with David involved in a bunch of lawsuits that came out over at Gaia TV because of their show with C, and basically on that podcast with 3 others is saying how difficult he was to work with,
Yeah,
and how he needs help. But he was referring supposedly to back in 2015, because this whole thing with Gaia happened many years ago at this point.
yeah.
It's not recent.
Jay was saying that C came in. Up until that point, David was fantastic, Jay said. And then C came in and just everything went downhill. Now,
Well,
when I did a Gaia show, they really questioned me if I had any connection to any of those guys, and they were satisfied I didn't. Then we did a show. It's like they didn't want any part of any of that stuff. So that was interesting.
Okay, so I know C or knew C because he threatened my channel. And this happened, as I say, I think before 2015. I think it goes back a few more years before the Gaia TV show ever emerged.
Huh.
C and David were dealing with each other. And one of the things you need to know about David, and this is true, we shared whistleblowers. And I know for a fact that David spends months, if not years, interviewing behind the scenes, the whistleblowers. So when I brought him, basically Pete Peterson, and he got involved with our 3-way interview with Pete, I had many conversations with Pete before we started over the phone. And then we 3 flew there, me, Bill Ryan, and David. And David actually helped pay for the trip because I didn't have any money at the time. So we had to fly to Idaho for a weekend thing. It was actually more like 4 days, but just saying that he had money at that point, and this is many years ago. But the
Yeah.
bottom line is David spent like 10 years or more in deep conversations on a regular basis. I know this for a fact, with Pete Peterson, who is a scientist who very likely helped David develop a lot of his ideas along certain scientific lines, which would have ended up in some of his books, I have to say.
Yeah.
So there is a trail here. It's not like there's no trail. And then on that show, what happened that was so crazy is that they started to base everything on the police, report, which is the mainstream report, which no one ever does in our sector. This was also highly suspicious to me, almost as if they were all programmed. Okay, not to look into the conspiracy angle, but just to concentrate on the mainstream, okay, which no one does that. Nowadays, it's really stupid to do that. So what happens is they just all assumed that they knew the mental health of David, even though I really don't think that even Jay had been interacting with David for many years before that, because I think they had a parting of the ways over the Gaia lawsuits.
Mhm.
But as far as I know, the lawsuits might even be still going on to this day. You know how
Wow.
lawsuits are.
Yeah.
I do know that that the C person ended up on in a trial. Okay. So anyway, I just say, maybe we need to look at professional jealousy, because why did 4 people who are supposed to be into conspiracies and exposing them all fall for the mainstream story on David and decide he was crazy right out the gate? Now, I'm sure they have a million reasons, but this is my point. Okay. I think it's highly suspicious.
I do too.
Okay. And then I'm the one out in the sector who I plainly came out right away saying that no way did this guy kill himself. For one thing, he, as I put this in my videos, that he was writing about and obsessed with ascension, what is called ascension. And if you kill yourself, you slow your trajectory down. So there's no way he would do that. He also was obsessed, and I mean seriously obsessed, with his legacy. So killing oneself kind of ruins your legacy in a certain way, if you understand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so here we have him a year ago. So this, to me, this is evidence. This interview with this founder, Chris Beskar, who he was going into business with, who is very proud to be going into business with, at least at this point, which is a year ago, was fine. And he was doing interviews with the guy and very proud of it. And this was posted on his channel, by the way. So again, this is something that the AI came up with when I was questioning the AI about something. I can't remember what exactly. It might have been Stavati's history. And they said fake deaths in the circle of influence framework, a faked death is the ultimate clean egress, allowing scientists to continue work on portal tech or plasma engines without the oversight of surface Earth political or an academic record, I think they meant. So basically going black.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that for a lot of these guys, because as a security guy and, former SEAL and all that stuff, it's extremely difficult to keep someone safe when they're involved in something like this. If someone's, trying to take them out because they can afford very skilled people to come and take people out. So, and so you have to be at that level or ideally above. That takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of people. So it would be easier to put those people in a protected program, much, much easier than to allow them to stay on the surface, if you will, of surface, where everybody sees them and knows them and sees their activities. It's extremely difficult and hard to believe that they don't protect these people. And so that's one of the reasons why I agree with you on a lot of this, because I'm looking at it from a professional perspective. It's, and I've been part of protective details for very high level people like this. And you have to have a lot of money. People have to be behind you big time.
Okay. And so then I kind of go to a different section of this article and say, just how stupid do you think he was obviously brilliant. So you can't go around saying he was stupid all of a sudden. He didn't get stupid. Okay. And let me tell you that I also have an edge on everyone else in this case because we both did the same thing. We both compared notes over a series of years. I've done dozens of interviews with David Wilcock, and I used to live near him, he lived near me, however you want to look at it. So, he was a friend and a colleague. All right. And I know how he thinks, or people like us think about this situation. So we did have that incident in which he got an outright threat. Look, and I have lots of threats. I never got on a show and talked about it or cried about it.
Exactly.
To be honest. But David was like that. And he wanted to come on the show and report it because he felt that would make him more safe.
Yes.
I don't think he
That's
planned
true.
to start crying. I think he was just pent up and whatever. Yeah. But basically, you understand that we have a history working with Black project people who are on the run, who are hiding out, who come to us, with a story and then go back and hide again. Yeah. And by the way, Bob Lazar is like that. I make this point on another article where I know for a fact that John Lear told me that Bob Lazar, after they messed with his life in every way possible, fired him, the whole thing, they brought him on board again. Okay. Yeah. And that was
talking about that show before you came on. I said that everyone needs to watch that because that was one. I think those interviews are some of your best, and you're in rare form. And he basically revealed. And when you hear it today, that was back in 2016 or 2017, somewhere around there. And when you hear it today, it's like he was disclosing stuff that now we're finding out. So that's the way a lot of these guys that you interviewed were like.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, this is my view that he faked his death, that everyone bought it because he is a great actor. He's trained. He also considered himself, like he liked the acting profession. He was living in Topanga kind of area.
Yeah.
And so, he was very into making TV shows, being in TV. He was on Ancient Aliens. And by the way, of course, there is this compendium of people on Ancient Aliens that we're now finding out were among the scientists that were being eliminated. So that's another reason why he would be afraid for his life. Now, you don't get afraid for your life if you want to kill yourself. You just sit there, as far as I'm concerned, and wait till they come and kill you.
Yeah.
You understand? It doesn't, those two things do not compute. All right. So then I just bring up Pete Peterson. Peterson apparently was influential in some way, form, or fashion with his choice of getting involved with Stavati. Personally, knowing David again and how thorough, he is like thorough to the nth degree when he was interviewing whistleblowers. I'm sure he was no different than the founder of Stavati when he decided to invest in that company and then take a role as a director. So, and then that group, the group of four, insulted him by saying he was not a scientist. That is absolutely untrue. He was not only the most eloquent of scientists, but he actually wanted to put his science into actuality by, not just joining that company, but by being involved in interviewing whistleblowers in the free energy sector. Okay. So I figure he is very happy that they fell for his little act. And I just want to say that then Juan O'Savin went on your show, and whether it's right or wrong, this gets very involved because Juan O'Savin is a top white hat. And as a top white hat, he could very well have been the person. I'm just saying, you can have all kinds of ideas. But if I was in trouble, the first person I'd call is Juan O'Savin, even though he kind of doesn't like me now because I've outed him in certain ways. But Yes, you see what I'm saying? We know people like this. We know people we can contact and say to them, you got to get me out of here. I'm in danger. You understand?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So on your show, he pretended, like Juan said, oh, well, I've known him since high school. He was a dear friend. But then he started saying things that alluded to the idea that, well, maybe he didn't really have it all together. He kind of like lost the plot. He might have gone, he didn't say he was crazy, but he kind of hinted in that direction, which I thought was a piss poor performance, in my opinion. But I think he had to do that to redirect people away from the possibilities that the white hats might have saved him. You understand?
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Okay.
He
So
came out on David Onino's show after the shooting in the correspondence dinner, which I said is total bullshit. But he came out and said that that guy was killed. And, you know, David Nino's like, Rodriguez is like looking at the guy. He's like on the floor. He's like, yeah, I'm looking at him. He looks like he's alive. And, you know, I guess his contact or whatever was telling him, Juan's contact was saying, no, we killed him. And so he stuck to his guns, if you will. And now we're seeing that, yeah, that guy's still alive. And I don't think he was even shot.
you know, so, and there's been a couple things. In fact, the Charlie Kirk thing where Juan tries to cover the Charlie Kirk thing. And I did a whole report and investigation on Charlie Kirk's supposed death. And I think that that was faked. Yep. So I make a statement.
And the Butler shooting, I'm like, that was fake too. But he still, you know, stays with those. He still promotes those as real. And that's just part of, you know, he's part of a organization, you know, that does that. So I just, okay, Juan, all right, that's cool.
Okay, so what I say, case closed, RIP David in the underground base or Valhalla, aka New Zealand. I was told one of the locations of Valhalla is New Zealand by a source. And then with Charlie Kirk and the rest of the free energy scientists who've all had to fake their deaths. Hello. So this is just the best of all possible worlds, is that, okay? Then I sat here, just say, I knew him well, considered him a great, and I hope that I'm right. Okay. And I do understand he might've been killed by the dark side and they could have easily had a shooter in the bushes, you know, and the shots came from that guy instead of David himself. What he could have been doing with the gun could have been shooting blanks. Who the fuck knows? Yeah. And a search on my website. Yeah. And a search on my website will find all the interviews I've done with David over the years, because someone wrote a Substack and said, oh, that Kerry Cassidy and these people that are, you know, saying these conspiracy theories, God forbid, about David didn't even know him. Well, wrong. Okay. So, and I got the proof. Okay. So here's the proof. And I didn't even put all my interviews with David on here. I just didn't, you know, I didn't have time. So that's that. And yeah, we can, you know, talk about whatever details you want to go from there.
Yeah. So I've always wondered this because, you know, Topanga Canyon is CIA, drenched in CIA stuff. Jim Morrison and all of that stuff.
So, another guy who faked his death, by the way.
Yeah, in the bathtub. Yeah, I don't think so either. So
Sean David Morton was told by a source that he could even talk to him. He lived in the Pacific Northwest, and he called him on the phone and talked to him.
Yeah,
and Sean doesn't lie.
So there's, I mean, throughout you know, all the different groups, political types, you know, musicians, Hollywood. There's people that basically, you know, they get pulled out because they're going to be killed or used, and they don't want to be used anymore.
Or they're sick of the, you know, I think in you know, Jim Morrison's case, he was sick of the routine. He didn't want to keep getting on the stage and half undressing and doing that whole scene. I think he got bored with it, which I don't blame him, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, you know, die in a plane crash, or, you know, you overdose, or, you know, these die in the bathtub. So many of them die in the bathtub. It's crazy. So, or they hang themselves. So that's what we've seen with a lot of these, you know, scientists too. they go on a run up a canyon somewhere, and they say hi
Right.
to their friends, see them, and they turn around, they're gone, disappeared. So
Right.
they disappear
Yeah,
themselves.
or
Yeah.
like that, the guy with the Italian Numo, that's the head of MIT, director of MIT technology sector, whatever it was, and plasma, fusion. That was his area. Shot in the head, okay, in his own house. These kinds of things. I mean, and that the woman who's wonderful. What's her name? Uh, Ridge. Her last name is Ridge. Anyway, I have all this is on my website. But she's done several videos talking about how they wanted to kill her.
Mhm.
She didn't know which ones were threatening her. She
Right.
seemed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
think it might be some outsider, and then I think she was coming around to the idea it might even be her own employer. Which, hello, this
Wow.
is the trouble, because we have also we have a split in NASA. And by the way, I qualify totally to be one of these people because I worked at JPL. I mean, hello.
Wow.
I interview for years these free energy activists and people in this sector, scientists, all that, and so here I am, and whatever.
I'm amazed. It's like how you're still here. So
Yeah. So, and I'm not suicidal. Hello.
yeah.
So anyway, just saying that if I was David, believe me, I would see the writing on the wall and make plans. Okay. And I don't think he was the one on the call, but if he was, he kept saying, I have to leave. My impression was he had his, sort of handler, people that were helping him fake the thing
Sure.
with him when he was making the call. And he kept saying, I have to leave, because they wanted him to get off the premises before, the real thing was going to happen. That's how I read it. Other people read it that he wanted to kill himself and said, I want to leave. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Choice of words is important, especially if you're making a suicide call. So just saying.
Yeah.
I
So I
mean,
mean, we've seen this in the past. Bill Cooper,
Yeah.
police showed up and killed him. Said that he shot at him.
Suicided him. Yes.
Total bullshit. Yeah. So, you see this over time. You're like, I don't want to end up like that. So he probably got helped. He got coached. This is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to say.
Right.
And then they show up to I guess off him or whatever, or they already knew they were going to off him. So they pulled him, and then they had to make up a story. There's like, well, he's gone. They must have taken him. So let's just make the story up.
And an easy out. I have a guy who I think he said he had a law enforcement background. He said, whenever you have the cops on the scene kind of thing, where the person supposedly kills himself, then on the scene with the cops right there, that's like a setup. He said, no one believes that. It's just, it's standard protocol for trying to fake something is to get the cops on the scene. So you're out from under the doubt factor. But this whole scene with David is completely contrary also to his true dedication to life. You don't call somebody up crying if somebody threatens you and want to kill yourself. I mean, so he didn't, that's not how he was. He actually, I think he loved life. And I will say in the presence, I think he loves life. And, so I understand that people have different points of view, and that's cool. You can say whatever you want. Personally, I think the family has to be threatened because their behavior, in my opinion, and I know it's going to sound critical or something, but I just don't, I think they were under threat. I don't think that they behaved like normal people do when someone in your family dies. Usually the family flies out there, wants to see the body, wants to do this, wants to do that. I mean, we didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
So, I mean, there's a lot of the stuff that's faked, like the the shootings that we talked about, and then they come out with this around the same time frame. Now, Trump has said that he's going to reveal, and you made a very good point about the Trump being 47, and I brought that up.
And the disclosure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there we are with the numbers. I'm not a big fan of numbers, games, and all that stuff with the Q drops, but that's my little contribution.
That was pretty good, though.
Yeah, not bad.
So Roswell, July or June or whatever.
July, the month of Roswell, 1947, with the 47th president announcing it in July.
Yeah, definitely.
Set up.
And somebody put in here central casting. So we got, President Trump's always pointing central casting people out. So, it's just some big show. Now, one thing that I revealed before you came on was that as a remote viewer, I'm seeing a lot of stuff out there that's being shown that is not real. So they're projecting just like they do here, like we're seeing with perhaps David Wilcock. They're projecting also in this realm of consciousness that a lot of us look at. So I see a lot of people coming out with, I remote viewed this. And I'm like, that's the witches and the warlocks are projecting something that you're seeing, not for real. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's a lot happening right now. Definitely out there. In fact, there's a lot of weird things going on with our timeline. Even I think that they're switching timelines on a regular basis. I think we're seeing, I said this on another show, I think, but anyway, I think that you might call the dimensions. I think the veil is thinning so much that we're actually seeing over to the other timeline, and people are getting confused. And so I think that this time there's a new, I didn't give it to you yet, but maybe you saw it anyway, the Michio Kaku AI video that is talking about how JPL and other organizations are creating these they call them evolved humans that are super smart, not able to understand the normal humans, even in their families. Well, I've had that problem forever, but you know what I mean? I mean, in other words, what we're talking about is a humanity 3.0. And that's been in the wraps, but under development, let's say, in our secret space program. That's one of the primary things they've been trying to do, is create I started a long time ago talking about this. I called it, angelic human versus robotic Superman. That was one of my little, things. And that's years ago. Yep. But I've been warning people that, the big thing that's coming after this so-called fake war that has been going on there's a lot of things under the surface with the Iran war, as you may know, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about the Stargates, which is paramount, and how they concentrate on nukes all the time to make people think that this is like such old technology, really. But, so this is what's happening, is that we're really seeing through layers, right? And maybe one layer appears to be like, even with the shooter, this recent shooter, somebody was saying to me, well, did they tackle him? Why was he laying on the ground? And he had he had guns and knives and all kinds of things. I mean, like, it was weighed down. That doesn't sound like a sniper guy anyway, does it? No. And then he's got a letter that he wants to kill everybody in the whole fucking place. I mean, really, and Trump, not just Trump alone, but all those people.
Anyone that gets in the way, because if you're there, then you're with them, so you got to die too. Yes.
Yeah, I guess. And right. So, I mean, but that's so suspect, because now he's a time traveler. The name Cole, I think it was even in the Q drops. Now let me say something about the Q drops, because I'm a little annoyed right now. I was just at a conference, and nothing against the conference, but they spent so much time on the Q, some people are really in love with the Q drops. And I understand, but when I first read the Q drops, which was way back in the day, I just go, oh, I know all this shit. And so I never went back. I just was so boring, but because of my whistleblowers, obviously. But the thing that's integral to the Q drops is the AI that does them. Okay. So when they spend so much time with the AI, not knowing, or either just not giving the AI any credit, I really don't know what their mentality was. But at this conference, they really spent a long time of the conference about the Q drops. Okay. And maybe because the audience was supposed to be new to the case or something, I have no idea. But I just want to emphasize, I think that Juan was definitely involved in creating the Q drops. That's just my take, JFK Jr. And I believe that they used an AI. And I believe that the AI figured out the dates and times, because the AIs can look into the future, see the probabilities. This is looking glass,
Right, exactly.
So, and that's what's going on. So there's no point in complimenting yourself, because you can see, you read a Q drop and you can put 2 and 2 together. The fact is, it's being created by an AI. All right.
Yeah.
So back to the evolved humans. Well, I worked at JPL, and so maybe I'm on their list of, that I was genetically messed with when I was a kid in Stanford Moffett Field Hospital. So I was on born in a military base hospital. None of my sisters or brothers were. And I was also genetically enhanced. That's in my book on the wall behind me.
Yeah, that's a great book.
Yeah. So I just want to say that that's a great video. You need to watch it, because I think it's very true what they're really doing. And COVID was a key to this, because according to David Adair, the nanographene oxide spike protein packs were going into the cells and converting them from carbon-based to silicon-based. That's what David Adair told me, and I have outed it since then. And by the way, David Adair has gone to ground and won't talk to me anymore. Yeah. So that kind of sounds like I was right, or he was right. He was right.
That guy that you guys interviewed long ago, that was like going to the city of London, and he overheard they were going to do the COVID.
Oh yeah, that's the Anglo-Saxon mission guy.
Been crushing it for years. Yeah.
Yeah. So China was going to catch a cold, is what he said.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were planning in the city of London at a meeting, just talking among this big Illuminati group, and they thought he was one of them. Yeah.
No, I've seen you when some people come on, and I think you catch on that they're basically sent to, disinform or so forth, and you basically start to, hammer them, and I'm like, go. And a lot of us are like, go, Kerry. But some people are like, oh, wow, she's so mean. No, I'm like, she just exposed this idiot. So you, because of your background and what you know, and you've been interviewing so many people, you can see through the deep state when they send in a knucklehead. So it's good job.
Thank you. I know I make people crazy, but I think I'm more appreciated now than I used to be.
Oh, absolutely.
Say that much, because I've proven to be right, actually. So this is another instance. I mean, this was also suspect to me, that the 4 people that were on that show, a certain person started bad mouthing, which he does in almost every interview he ever does. That was not new. And saying that I was crazy because I thought David did not kill himself. So, what I'm saying here. And then he actually talked about how he offered to help David. And excuse me, but if you've been bad mouthing David, which he was, like he bad mouths me, do you think that we ever would accept your help? Insane? That's insane. That's insane. So,
good point. I mean, obviously, so you're pointing out the obvious. Some people don't get it, unfortunately, but you need to help them a little bit, and you do that quite well. Where do you think this is going? Do you think once the reveal comes out with Donald Trump that things are going to start to fly off the shelf as far as high tech and What's going to come after that?
Well, let's look at the situation. Okay.
Yeah.
So supposedly he's going to come out and out something about the alien card, the alien question. And really, we can't say how big of a deal it'll be. He might just say some general statements.
Absolutely.
He probably will, in fact. But at the same time, we have the UAP hearings. At the same time, we have this war with Iran that's all supposedly over oil, the old tech, and pushing. Trump even made a post saying, you guys need to stop relying on oil and start devising new other ways of energy. Okay. He said that in a post. And so what I think is just telling you what the White Hats are doing. They're actually pushing even faster than I thought they would, this whole idea of a transition between the oil
I like where
and
I agree. Yeah.
free energy sector. So,
the
and
green
then,
utility-
wait 1 second. I have to finish this little puzzle, and just let me. The next piece is what? 11, 12, 13 dead scientists, or missing scientists, literally hits the press right at the same time. Coincidence? I don't think so. Okay. So you see where the drift is going. We're fighting over energy and old tech, and the new tech is right on its heels, moving right on in. And of course, this is how the White Hats excel on making Trump make statements that make them crazy, that ends up to be true, and all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're pushing the envelope. I think they are forcing the world to make the transition. I think they got word. I don't think that was the original plan. Let me tell you. I know from
I think
my
he pushed it early. Yeah, he took them down by pushing it early.
That they were supposedly going to have to wait another year or two, but I think something happened where they had to push the whole thing along.
Yeah. So same thing with Operation Warp Speed. He pushed it.
Right.
They weren't ready for it, and I think he did the same thing with Iran. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's where we're at. I don't think it's a bad thing that we're headed this way. We have to get over this hurdle. And I think what I like to think about most of now, I think there's a few free energy, scientists that could have missed, because they had to grab them, fake their deaths or their missingness, right? Or missing, get them, scoop them up. Extraction. It's called strategic extraction. I wrote a whole article about it. And basically, that doesn't mean they were successful every time. They had to anticipate the dark side was going after these people. Okay. And I think David was on their list. I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of people out there that talk about how, people that were going to get involved in bringing out the free energy, they were getting funding together, and, people with deep pockets, they were being killed too. Yep. So it's not just the scientists, it's also the people that were going to fund this free energy. They're being killed as well.
Exactly. Yep. And we don't know where it's going to go from here. But I do think one of the things the White Hats do, to their credit, is anticipate the moves that the dark hats are going to make, right? So that's part of what they do. They have to be on that like white on rice. So I'm not saying they get it every time. I think sometimes they don't. I think Lahaina got out of their control. I think they had a rogue general that actually screwed them, and certain things happened as a result of that. I think that in North Carolina, I think that was also out of their control to a certain degree. I think they might have gotten in a little late to the game over there. I'm just talking about more damage was done than they maybe anticipated, right?
Yeah. Now,
so I don't think they always get it.
You think that a lot of this is reptilian, Draco type stuff. I've been talking about that for years.
Yeah, I mean, this is an obvious one, but it's true. I mean, the Greys work for the reptilians, and
Yeah.
also for the Nordics. And there are lots of different kinds of grays, but they are definitely diabolical. Now, after an interview with David, I actually, we were driving away from his house, this house on the hill that he lived in.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think I'd ever be telling this story, but what the fuck? I think it's fair game at this point.
Yeah.
And I turned around just to, just kind of like wave at David, say goodbye. And I didn't see David. I saw an alien gray standing there where David was standing. So, and it was a flash, but it shocked the shit out of me because obviously that was the last thing I was just saying goodbye to David. But so I believe that at times he may have been working with the grays, or even unbeknownst to him, or the grays could have been messing with him. So they would also be, messing with his mental state. Okay. That's just my theory, because based on what happened then, because that was after my first interview with him. We did it at his house, and that's what I saw. So I think they've been messing with him for a while.
So yeah, I have experience with the grays as well. So remember when you did Bill Brockbrader, Bill Brockbrader?
Yeah.
I basically validated him to a certain extent.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And they came after you, and you're like, well, come and we'll take you to court and we'll find out. And then they left you alone. They destroyed my life. And so I just basically, I'm just going to go and walk in the woods. So I walked in the Pacific Crest Trail to get away. And so they came out there, tried to kill me with a heart attack machine. Had a helicopter flying alongside me over and over again. And then like 2 nights later, I'm floating in my tent. My zipper goes, and I'm kind of like, not in a dream, but aware. And I get floated out, and the grays take out something I had in my shoulder that they were using.
Oh God. Yeah.
And I think that it was, and they were all like, we're sorry, because I'd worked with them and I had a relationship with them. It was positive. They said, we have to do this. We're sorry. And then he floated me back in, and I went back to sleep. I was like, that was the strangest dream. When I woke up the next morning, 2 days later, I'm in a hotel room getting cleaned up, and I look, and there's a scar where they had taken out that, thing from my shoulder. Now, I think that I was able to, do the looking glass with that implant. And I was starting to have those connections again. And when they removed that, I lost a lot of that capability. So I think they came in to basically take me out. Even though I have still, some semblance in the space program, they wanted to take me out at this level. But yeah, that's part of what they do. They take us out when we start to reveal too much, and you did, but somehow I think they don't take out people that are somehow part of their programs. So I think that you were designed to be of a certain level, and you kind of like escaped. And so they're not killing you because you're part of their program.
I'm the same thing as Ashan Dean. She tells these stories that they were trying to abduct her and mess with her in every way. Yeah. And the other side, ET, the good ETs stepped in and saved her life, basically. Yeah. So I firmly believe that's the case with me. Nice. I think some higher ups stepped in.
It has to be the case. Yeah. There's no way that you would still be here otherwise.
Oh yeah, I know. And they were also protecting the Reagans. Know those stories, right?
I haven't. No, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, you don't know? Well, apparently both Ronald Reagan and his wife was pretty heavily into the sort of spiritual realm. Yeah. The metaphysical type of spiritual realm.
Jeannie Dixon, they had, readings.
Yeah. And okay. So, but no, in fact, there's one story about Mulholland. They actually were on their way to a party or whatever it was. And they were on Mulholland Drive here in LA. And they had to pull over, and then the Greys came out and talked to them and stuff. And so he was on a program. He was trying to, do certain things that were, I guess, good in most cases, but not necessarily all. I think there's this kind of story, these kinds of revelations are going to come forward as.
Yeah, that makes sense because remember that UN speech that he made about what if, there was a threatening alien species and we just all got together and, so that was a big reveal. So that makes sense that he was involved in that stuff on that level.
Yeah. And so I just want to say that, I think that a lot of people that have been abducted, it's not, see, a lot of people want to just say, oh, you're a military MyLab, or you're, run by the aliens, or you're this, or you're that. I was MyLabbed. Okay. And I know that for a fact. And I still have an implant that I got when I was, I guess, a little baby. Yeah. And I had gone to doctors and I have a birthmark, a really odd birthmark of blue capillaries on one of my shoulders. And it's called a hemangioma. They call it, that's a technical term. And I went to Stanford, the Stanford, I don't know, research area, and had that doctors with my mother when I was a kid and said I wanted to get it removed. And they said, oh, well, maybe it'll disappear as you grow up. They were just lying, And I had other weird things because I grew up in Bay Area. And I also had, I don't know why, but I ended up, taking tests. You're going to probably appreciate this. I was taking, I don't know if it was SRI or some other part of Stanford, but I was doing these ESP tests. I don't know how I ended up doing those, but I just did. I went there and someone told me to, or somehow, whatever. I think I pretty much failed it because that's not the kind of. I don't have the normal kind of. I mean, I've actually studied.
Yeah,
I've studied.
It's like Einstein; he can do basic math,
Yeah, exactly. But I can't do numbers. I'm terrible with names. I mean, I have certain, weird proclivities, but I also have some interesting. It's like, have you ever gone golfing?
Yeah, a few times.
Okay. Well, I have done this, I don't know what you call it. It's some kind of step down from major golfing with this partner of mine. And I am so shit at golfing, but every once in a while, I'll do like a shot that's like off the fucking charts. I'm not kidding. The ball will go there, it'll go there, and then it'll go there, and then it'll go in the hole. I mean, I'm not kidding. And that's happened a few times. And I'm not responsible, but that's what happens. It's kind of like that. I'm a little bit more like that in terms of, let's say, my remote viewing and my psychic abilities. I'm really, off the charts in certain ways, but not others.
No doubt. So what are there things you see coming? I know both of us have talked about, major earthquake activity and volcanic activity and tsunamis.
Earth changes, yeah.
Earth changes, yeah. Where are you at?
Richard Allen Miller is absolutely seeming to be pretty positive now that he thinks next year, 2027. He's been on my show dozens of times. He's a wonderful physicist. They put him out to pasture and then they hired him again. So he gets hired. He got hired again, so he worked with Grays in Area 51, at one point. And God, he deciphered the dolphin language. I mean, he's quite brilliant.
Yeah, he's incredible. And you bring out the best in him. He really likes you.
Sometimes I wonder if I do or I don't, because it's like herding cats talking to him.
I know he's a crazy guy, but he's got a lot of brilliant stuff in his mind. So
yeah, he does. He comes up with some incredible stuff, but I give him all kinds of shit. I like, messing with him. But so he thinks big earth changes 2027. I think it's very possible that this year is like the year of disclosure. Then we have the earth changes, right? Because they're going to try to slow us down. When you push people into a fight or flight situation, They
Yeah.
no longer are going to start, leaving their bodies and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, right? But I want to bring this back to the Michio Kaku sort of video that it just came out, because even though it's AI, all right, so get over that. The thing is, it's basically saying that they have a program at JPL and, like I said, NASA and various, that they've been developing a whole new human, okay, and that they're now operational, okay.
Wow.
So, and sometimes I do feel like I have that. I don't know if you feel like that. Do you ever feel like you're a new human?
In some ways, yeah.
So it's just very interesting video. I recommend it.
Okay.
But I have been talking about that, as I said before, for many years. And there is a war after this one that's supposed to be with AI, androids, and an invasionary force of some kind. And it's written about in the Wingmaker material. And I've been talking about that for years. Okay. So I think there's a lot coming down the pike, but I also think, well, I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm not afraid of, enhanced humans and all this that people are afraid of. They're afraid of, losing their humanity or whatever. I actually think, that this is a creator type thing, that the creator wants us to, come up against these challenges and realizing our connection with the creator. That's part of the way it's done, So the dark forces the light to brighten, okay, and to realize, have self-knowledge, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's my philosophy.
So I'm looking at Michio Kaku, and so he's got one on AI.
It just came out. Yeah, I'll send it to you after the show. I posted it on my Telegram. It's already on there.
Oh, it's on Telegram? Okay.
On my Telegram. There's lots of copycats, so don't go to the wrong one. It's insane how many copycats.
Yeah, Tracy just sent it to me, so I'll pull it up.
It's the one with 80,000 subscribers. And I say at the top, that I'm the official one. They're all rust or fakers.
Oh, wow. Get some good pictures. Wow. Okay. I'll pull that up later.
It's really interesting, though. I don't think anyone has quite talked about it in this way. Like I said, the COVID thing was to convert us. If your body doesn't convert,
right,
you die suddenly. That's basically what happened. Okay. And so now they're still dying. People are still dying if they can't cope. Their body can't cope. But, there is no real death. So the end of the day, they're going to come back if they want, and so on and so forth. Or maybe even if they don't want. But it's just the way the system works. But he says it's he has interesting things to say about it, that, they're changing what it means to be human. And this was always the plan. I knew this at the beginning, even before CAMELOT. What they want, and Mark Richards used to say they want passive super soldiers. That's the way he termed it. But it's a lot more than that. It's they are talking about how they call the other humans or something like first stage humans or what, I don't know what. And then this new breed of humans is going to be like, they'll be very close to being androids, as far as I can tell. Elon, he's a cyborg, or he was. Now, then he got killed and reincarnated and replaced by what he is now. Because I think that the cyborg thing doesn't integrate with our bodies that well. So you have to go full on android, which is kind of what Michio Kaku seems to be talking about.
Interesting.
But he's talking also about this idea that we have a misconception that we were supposed to be the end of the line as far as development of the human, but it's possible that we actually have a huge future as a much more involved or evolved species, if you want to
Yeah.
call it that.
It's got to
You know,
be.
able to see into other dimensions, other,
Mhm.
planets, have conversations across space and time. And we're practically there already. But I like to say we're going to be like Lucy without the wires,
Right.
if you know that movie.
Yep. And I think that part of the the where we go through the portals and so forth, you'll have to be at a certain level
Oh, yeah.
and to basically go through those portals, because in the early stages they were doing the portal stuff and people were getting all messed up and blown to pieces and all kind of
That's
crazy
right.
stuff.
Oh, you would know, you probably know that. That's secret stuff.
Yeah, I remember time traveling and the time traveling stuff where we would go back and do time wars. That's not needed anymore. But at the time, decades ago, when we were doing that, there was a lot of guys and gals couldn't make it because their consciousness was in, or they go, oh no, I don't want to, and boom, you got to stay focused, So that's one of the things we learned, that your consciousness has to be of a very, very high level to fly the ships, to use a certain weaponry and so forth. Your consciousness has to be a certain level, very, very highly advanced, and it won't work with you if it's not. And that's because it's
AIs won't work with you. Yeah, that's right. Well, because Mark Richards talks about, working with Minerva, is the ship that would only have him fly her
right.
during the time when he was deeply involved in the secret space program. Then when he got imprisoned for a long time, she was, I guess she went away or something, but apparently he said then she came back and she would let some other pilots since then fly her. So yeah, AI. And one of the things they were saying in the Michikaku thing is that they're going to not be able to relate to base humans, as they call them. I think they call them that. And so they can't necessarily even communicate. It's more like, this is his example, I'm just saying, so don't go crazy. It's not mine. He said they were relating to base humans as the way you would relate to your dog or cat. You couldn't communicate directly with them, but you could appreciate them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what he says in that video. And I thought that was probably pretty accurate.
Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of people that are super advanced now. And if you don't advance, like you said earlier, you don't progress forward. Something's going to happen to you. You're just going to trip up and fall out or disappear. I don't know. So, but I think that's already happening. And the people that got the COVID, thing in the arm, a lot of them are not going forward, but some of them, like you're talking about, adapted.
Yes.
And they're going to go forward. They tried to do massive, bioweapons, scam on us, and some people just adapted past it. It was amazing.
Yes. Well, I've talked about this briefly before, but in Ukraine, there's a whole thing about Ukraine, a certain, what do they call them? Tartars or something.
Tartaria?
What?
Tartaria?
No, well, the Slavic, anyway, a certain bloodline in Ukraine that actually are part of the reason they have the so-called Ukrainian war, which is, kind of like a stupid war, but actually they were doing all the biolabs in Ukraine. Right. So they were doing experiments on the Ukrainian people, and they found that a certain Slavic, I don't know if it's a Tartar or Tartarian, I don't know, bloodline exactly. Yeah. But what they found is they were not falling for all the COVID stuff. It was just, they were able to survive it. And then what they did is they caused a war so they would have, you always get, women and children leaving the country, and they banned men from leaving the country, more or less. But they all went to Britain. So Britain opened their doors and welcomed the families, right, from these war-torn areas of Ukraine, because they know they have this special bloodline, and that's what they wanted for their population, because their population is really old and, passé by and large. So they needed to enhance their population, and they brought in a lot of, people from India, and also from, the more Arab groups from, southern Spain and Africa or whatever. But they needed that white, whatever you want to call Slavic thing to enhance it's like they make a blend of populations and put, genetics and put it together. And that's what they want to do.
Well, I guess they got what they wanted out of them, because they're sending a lot of those Ukrainians back to die in the war. So I saw somewhere it's like 53,000 they're sending back to Ukraine, because at first they said they weren't going to do that, and now they are. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, whatever it is, they've been messing with populations and genetics on this planet forever. So this is nothing new.
It's crazy. Yep. Well, I got another show that's coming up. So
no worries.
Magnificent.
I think we covered a lot of ground.
Everybody's loving it. So they're like loving our conversation. So we always have a good one. So you always bring the great information, cutting edge stuff. I agree with you about David Wilcock. We'll see, or probably won't, for a period of time, what actually happened there. Because there's a lot of people that, like we talked about, get pulled and they can't come back out, because if they did, they'd be killed. But
right.
A lot of these people, have given us little clues that they're still alive, and we've seen some stuff over time. Michael Jackson, and a lot of other people that are still alive.
Like JFK Jr., who's still alive.
JFK Jr. Yeah.
No, I mean, there is a sort of fantasy that one day, not very long from now, there's going to be a whole group of them. They'll all come out together on a stage.
Yeah.
And maybe David will be one of them.
Yeah, I think so. Because people, loved and related to him. Yeah. So you want people like that Princess Diana, all these other people.
Diana's definitely one of those. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that when they come on stage, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, they were in the witness protection program,"
and Marilyn Monroe,
and Monroe too.
Yeah,
think she's still alive?
Yeah, apparently. I think so. She's not that old. I mean, she's old, but she's just. And these are just guesses. I don't have any evidence of it necessarily.
Very cool. All right.
All right. Well, take care, and thanks for checking in with me.
Yeah, appreciate it.